let's get into it. Where do things currently stand as you and I are talking in the world of Major League Baseball and the idea of playing in 2020?
Well, this is a big week. There's no question about that, Rich. That we saw yesterday reports the owners have approved a plan to return to play, and now the negotiating begins with the Players Union, and by all appearances, it's not going to be a quick one. It's going to be one that takes some time, and I think MLB realizes that there is about probably a month or so between now and when the rescheduled spring training would have to begin. And so that does give them some runway to negotiate the particulars of this with the union, but there already appears to be certainly a very strong difference of opinion between MLB and the union as it relates to compensation. And the separate question becomes the public health equation and the safety of the players and their families, the testing bandwidth that's going to be required to get baseball operational during the course of this time. So there are a lot of variables. Compensation is a big one, but there are many, many factors at play during what's going to be a very busy week.
So let's walk through it. We had Charlie Blackmon on our show yesterday, and he said, hey, I'll quarantine. What's the sense? Is this plan involving quarantine? What are the details of this plan in terms of the logistics of a season?
Well, it's a great question, Rich. We don't know all the details as we speak right now, other than to say that the plan certainly includes multiple variations within it. And by that I mean that there is, at the outset, the rather optimistic view of being able to play in Major League stadiums in the respective Major League cities. But there also has to be the allocation for what transpires if there is a flare-up in cases, as many public health experts believe is likely at some point in time, that if that occurs, what then happens? Does the league shut down? Does the schedule get suspended? Or does that team then move to a different city and or a tighter quarantine where they are? Those questions are still out there. They have not been resolved, and candidly, even the health experts of our country don't know exactly what course this virus is going to take and what that means for what the safety guidelines will be in various and diverse states and cities across the country. So the plan has variations within it, as it should. And I think to Charlie Blackmon's point, there are players who are comfortable quarantining, but there are others who may have wives who are due to give birth this year who are not comfortable with that. So I do believe at the end of the day, Rich, that a majority of players, if presented with information that says it's safe to play, will want to play, but this agreement has to include some allocation for those whose, again, family circumstances make playing a lot riskier and a lot less comfortable for them. And I think it's incumbent on both MLB and the union to find a way to take care of those players.
Well, I've also heard from people in management who, and they love the players, but think that some players will not be quarantinable. That if you will, boys will be boys, and somebody will do something that you can't police at all. Essentially, is the concern. Forget about the adults who have wives and children. It's not feasible to quarantine everybody, John.
Right, and I think to some extent, Rich, it's going to be dependent upon, first of all, whatever the restrictions are in that particular area. As we know, we've got 50 states, and there are a lot of different strategies being implemented right now, depending on where you are in the U.S., that will determine what is legal to do. But to your point, not everyone has been following the guidelines or even the law. So that is a variance that has to be allocated for. And the testing likely would occur, according to what experts say, probably not on a daily basis, but most certainly on a weekly basis. And even the weekly test obviously would require some bandwidth on the national stockpile of tests. And the commissioner, Rob Manfred, has said publicly from the outset, Rich, that he is not going to be comfortable bringing back the sport until he has been assured that the testing regimen required for baseball is not going to compromise the bandwidth that will take care of the public health for the rest of the country. So as much as baseball would love to be part of the healing process and be a place to come together as a nation to watch our national pastime every day, as badly as baseball wants that outcome, baseball also realizes the social responsibility that precedes all of that.
Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.